Let's see what happens. Hey everyone, it's Chronologically Gaming. Welcome to the live show. Welcome to the pre-show. It has been a quick ride to get everything back up and running. And now we are ready to play. Just as we said previously when it came to other systems crashing or games crashing on it, just cross your fingers and toes and everything will be all right. We'll see what happens. We are back, and we're going to see how well this show runs. The previous live show that we did had a crash right on the second game, so we didn't even get very far. But welcome in. Howdy, Brad. Glad to be back. I think what we're going to do is just redo the whole episode. I'm going to just do the exact same episode all over again, because it kind of was a fluke that we started our live show and then it crashed in the middle of it. Oh, but this episode is going to be big, so I'm going to try to jam-pack 2 episodes into one, just lots and lots of games, and see how quickly we can go through them, and see how well it goes. There's a console we haven't seen in a long time. The VC4000, and recently I've found that there's so many systems in other countries, besides the interest in VC4000 console, that have even more games. And one of them that we saw recently was Leapfrog on the database. Yeah, we'll finally see some Pooyan, at least as long as we don't crash and burn. This is it. I had only played the Atari version previously. I never played the arcade version first. And a lot of times that's true. People play whatever they could play first at home, and then later they, may check out the arcade version. But the Atari one was actually the only Pooyan I was familiar with. Kind of like Amadar too. Amadar I really didn't see or play the arcade version first. It was the Atari version first. So many different ports we've seen up to this point, and there's going to be a lot more too. So welcome in everybody. Our previous live show we had a computer crash, not where the game crashed or the emulator crashed. My computer crashed and the whole live stream was blown apart. Hey Mike, welcome to the live show. Yes, glad to be back. What we're going to do is just redo the whole episode. So we only got through 2 games last time. We're just going to go through those 2 games and then keep going and try to mash in 2 episodes worth of content. So we'll just play. I move some games around so we can have some more games to play and we'll hopefully get through them all. And of course, there'll be some Pooyan. Gotta have the Pooyan. But we're trying to go quick, so we don't go too far over time, even though I've heard people just want me to keep going forever and play every single video game. Oh, Brad, I haven't played the 5200 version of Pooyan. I am sure we're going to see it on the show, because we'll see everything. Unless there's a prototype or something that wasn't finished. I haven't thought about how I'm going to handle those, because... yeah, I heard some people were saying, we need to have Pooyan. Where's the Pooyan? And the last live show, we didn't even get to it because we crashed. So if you see some of the games we're gonna play the same 2 games. I'm not gonna let Pakakuta get the best of me. We're gonna see those same 2 games and then keep going after that. So if it looks a little like deja vu, just ignore it. Yes, Brian, we're back. We are back. We're live, playing every single video game. So many computer problems I've had recently, but we are able to bounce back pretty quick. Oh, James, it was homebrew. Okay, that means it was probably released after 2010. That's my guess. And that means even if we get to homebrew games, I don't even know if we're gonna get to the games in the 90s, because there's just so many video games. All right, let's do this show right and cross your fingers and your toes to make sure everything runs smoothly and nothing crashes. If it does, we might have to just try it all over again. All right. And this is going to be a lot of games. Well, and interesting games, as usual. It's showtime. Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. See this psychological experiment and find out what happens when someone plays every single video game. We started in 1971, played every single game up to this point. Over 3,500 games have been seen, and now we're in December 1982. And we were last on the TRS-80, original TRS-80, checking out Outland. In this game, it says, say go to play. And I would love to know if you really talked into a microphone and said go to play the game. But there's not a lot of information on the game, so we may never know. Let's see what our next game is in this crazy quest. Our next video game is on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This is a pair of zippy Roadrunners. Sound confusing? Me too. This one was from a magazine, ZX Computing, the December issue right here, Britain's biggest magazine for the Sinclair user. This marks the 153rd game we've seen on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. And it's also the 93rd game that's been a type-in game, whether it's from a magazine or a catalog that we've played up to this point. This is the 5th time we've played a game from any one of these magazine publications or ZX Computing magazines. If you flip to the right page in the magazine, there it is, a pair of zippy Roadrunners. This is essentially a ZX81 game that's ported to the ZX Spectrum because the ZX Spectrum is still really, really new, and a lot of the games that you could play on the ZX81, you just pop in the same cassette and you can play them on the ZX Spectrum. Kind of cool, kind of reverse compatibility, I guess. But you type in all the game, and there, you get a game for yourself. It says that the programs are, after you type into them, they're worth the effort adding a little color and sound. Oh, isn't that cute? That's nice. And then we have an example of the screenshot. So the homemade or homebrew manual just explains that this is from the magazine. It says Tim Hartnell wrote this as a car driving program. It's the second time we've seen Tim Hartnell on the show after doing Corner Checkers. Way to go, Tim. So it shows Roadrunner or a pair of zippy Roadrunners for the ZX81, and then it has the improved sound and color. So that's what we're going to see. And they also changed up a few of the keys. But that's what you were seeing inside the magazine. Let's type it and play Roadrunner, or a pair of zippy Roadrunners, Tim Hartnell, ZX Computing, whenever you typed it in December 1982. Here it is. After you type it in, you can push any key to play, and then you're in. Oh, I gotta get my keys right. All you need is Z and M to play. There you go. Just Z to move left, M to move right, and you're just supposed to dodge asterisks. It's very, very basic, simple. When you think racing games, we played a few that are like this, but it's a very, very simple, basic racing game. If you had spent the time to type this in, you might have more enjoyment on it. But man, it's very, very simple. I mean, it's even, like, I would say even more bare bones of an arcade game, but this is the kind of games you'd be playing if you were typing in programs, trying to get the highest score, maybe switching turns with friends. This is the 130th racing game that we've played on Chronologically Gaming on all systems. It's the 48th racing or driving game that we've seen on home computers, all home computers up to this point. This kind of reminds me of other games that are... They're attempting to be a racing game. It's all text ASCII. Another one we saw on the Sharp MZ was called Ace Racer. And then another one we saw was Grand Prix by Titan Programs on the VIC-20. How far can you go? How low can you go? It's very, very simple. You may have more enjoyment if you typed it in yourself, but I'd say rating this against all the other home computers really isn't fair, but we're going to have to give this one a 1-star rating. It is bad, rated against every other home computer, all the other video games that are possible, but this was the kind of thing you would have seen if you typed in a video game yourself, because people did that right now. All right, after that game, what's our next video game release? We're next going to the Commodore 64, brand new. This is Pakakuta. It's notorious here on Chronologically Gaming, brought down the whole show. If you take a look at the box, here is the later box from the United Kingdom. If I don't even see, oh, there it is on the side. The cassette case is from Rabbit Software. This is the United Kingdom release that I believe was later. Colorful, doesn't really tell you a lot about the game though. This marks the 42nd game that we've seen on the Commodore 64 so far. It's really new. The Commodore 64 has a few releases, but compared to all the other computers out there, it's starting low, but we're going to get a lot more. So for your Commodore 64, Pakakuta, huh? What other artwork do we have for Pakakuta? This is the very first box you possibly would have seen. This is the 10th time we've seen this company, Com Data Computer House, and then later when it's released in the United Kingdom by Rabbit Software, we've seen Rabbit Software. This is the 18th game by them. They've been doing games usually back and forth like English Invaders, Edition Invaders, Cosmic Battle, Nightcrawler, Astro Command, or Damsel, just to name a few of those. This one still doesn't explain a lot of the game. It just tells you you're going to be underwater, but it makes me think we're going to play a game where we get to eat stuff as a shark. But sadly, that's really not the case. There's the back of the cassette case in the United Kingdom, because all you needed was a cassette tape to play the video game. Video games were on cassettes. If you open up the inside sleeve, it says, "Have you ever dreamt of swimming in the deep blue Caribbean Sea? Well, here's your chance, but fate has taken a cruel turn and turned you into a barracuda." Oh, so we're not the Pacacuda? Swim around eating as many fish and electric eels as possible while fighting off attacks from ravenous octopuses. It shows the loading instructions here. Joystick is required to play. Ensure the cassette deck is 3 feet away from the Wait, why would you need the cassette deck 3 feet away from the television? And it has 2 copies for it. And this is the Rabbit software, the one in the United Kingdom. Here's the cassette that you would have played in the United Kingdom for the Commodore 64. Oh man, it's simple beginning. And the same thing you see right here by my shoulder, it's from 1983 because this is the later re-release. The very first one was Com Data Computer House in the United States. There's the example of the screenshot. All right, we have no other manual or information. Here we go. Let's pop in Pacacuda and play by Brad Hoke and Wayne Hoke. Released in the beginning of December 1982. This is the second time we've seen this duo play games on the show. They did Dragons and Treasure, which was like a rogue-like game. Pretty fun. Look at the artwork. It looks like something you could do by yourself. Direct the Pacacuda with a joystick in port 2. Oh man, I got to unplug my joystick, put it in port 2. This is going to be a recurring trend on the Commodore 64. Sometimes you don't know which port to plug in to play the game. Yes, and we have to make sure we blow into it and make sure it's not contaminated so it doesn't crash our computer. This game, the last time we did a live show, crashed my computer. Not crashed the emulator or crashed the computer Commodore 64. We played lots of games that do that. This is the first game that actually crashed the whole show. That's how we played so many games. I knew it was going to happen sometime, but we're not going to let it get the best of us. It says, eat an eel for extra charge needed attacking the octopuses. Press the fire button, and we're in. There we go. Now everybody knows what we're playing. Pacacuda is simply a Pac-Man style game. I don't even think we're a shark. We look like a giant fish. I'm the white fish in the middle, and the octopus are essentially the enemies. The way the game works is you go over the electric eel, and then you can now turn your tables on the other enemies. However, I don't see a lot of indications saying I am powered up, except it tells me I'm flashing when I'm almost done. Let's whip around to the other side. Yeah, so top-down arcade maze game. Oh, I missed that last fish over there. Controls work fairly well with the Commodore 64 joystick, but at this point, there's not a whole lot of nuance you can do with control with these maze games. And they got me. Because after Pac-Man, the control for a top-down arcade maze game like this was fine-tuned. It was perfected. There's not anything that could be really improved too much on it. When you look at the arcade platform games we've seen, like Donkey Kong or jumping, acrobatic, athletic video games, there's a lot more that you can do to improve on that. Wait a second, I just realized when I get the power up, these enemies are really dumb. Did you notice that whenever I pick it up, they're still swarming toward me? Look, they don't run away. They still come right at me. Yeah, so we don't have a high intelligence here. When you clear the whole maze, the game now goes faster, but it's still taken from the same maze. We call these arcade maze games. It's the 343rd arcade maze game we've seen so far on Chronologically Gaming on all systems. It's the 191st arcade maze game we've seen on all home computers so far, and it's the third that we've seen on the Commodore 64. After Head On by Computer Mat and Radar Rat Race, which was essentially like a Rally X variant. But this marks the very first time on the Commodore 64 you got a Pac-Man game. Pac-Man-like, Pac-Man clone. The first Pac-Man-like game that we've ever seen. Is it really the first? It's hard to tell. Release dates are pretty tricky to come by, but for us, this is the first time you would have experienced any Pac-Man on the Commodore 64. So if you're clamoring for Pac-Man, you got Pac-Man Fever, this is what you were playing or what you wanted to play. It has this is the 148th Pac-Man clone or variant that we've seen on everything up to this point. So Pac-Man games are everywhere. It's the top variant. Well, I actually am curious which one is the top clone we've seen so far, because at this point we had Space Invaders, and then after Space Invaders was Galaxian-style games, and then after Galaxian-style games we saw Phoenix-like games and Mooncrest-like games. So you could argue Space Invaders is the ultimate cloned video game, because there's so many games that are that style of shooter or close to that kind of shooter video game. The aquatic theme's kind of nice, but we've seen this before with games on the Atari 2600, but it's still top-down maze game, survive as long as you can. This one you're eating all the fish around the outside. Not a whole lot going for this one that makes it stand out compared to all the other games you could play across all home computers. This one we are going to see later on the Commodore VIC-20 and the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. So maybe it'll be a little bit different. I don't know. It might be exactly the same. We'll have to see that. I'd say this is better than other Pac-Man variants on home computers so far. Right now, the still tip of the best of the best would be Ghost Hunter on the Atari home computer, Bezman on the Apple II, Hungry Horse on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, Jelly Monsters on the Commodore VIC-20, Serpentine on lots of different home computers, Snack Attack on the Apple II, Snapper on the BBC Micro, Taxman and Super Taxman 2. I'd even say Gulpman on the ZX81 and ZX Spectrum is better than this one. And Crazy Antics is another one that I would still say is better than this. And that's just naming a few that are better. There is a lot of Pac-Man and a lot of maze-like games, and I would still say this is fairly middling of all the games up to this point. There's no extra mazes. There's no other game modes. Once you get in the game, you just pop it and play. And notice that there's no multiplayer option. They do keep a high score for us, but I'm already looking over the chat, and people are already throwing out their ratings. Pakakuta is 2 stars. Man, Paul's going way low. James is saying 2.5. I see a 2 from Mike. And Paul brings up Ladybug. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. We did see a very weird Ladybug variant on the Sharp MZ line of home computers. I'd even say that was better than this, and that was using the character set characters of the Sharp MZ. Brad saying 2.5 stars, and yeah, Crazy Antics is way better than this. There's a whole lot available out there. All right, there you go. So that's Pakakuta, and it didn't crash. We actually got to play, and the show goes on. Of all the games you could play right now on all home computers, if you think this game is broken, then you're going to rate this somewhere in the 1-star range. Of all the games you could play right now, if you think this game's bad, you rate this somewhere around the 2-star range, which I saw quite a few people doing that. If you say this is pretty average for all the games you could play across all home computers, you'd be somewhere around the 3-star range. If this is above average or excellent, of all the games on all home computers, you'd be somewhere around the 4-star range. And if you think this is one of the best games you could play across all home computers, you'd be somewhere around the 5-star range. Yes, we're broken. I'm going with Brad and James. I think that's the 2.5. I'm going with 2.5 stars. Of all the games you could play across all home computers, Pakakuta is still fairly average. I wouldn't call it bad, at least right now, not here in December 1982. All right, after that game, let's see what's next. We're next going to play on a home console. This is Parachuter, released on the Emerson Arcadia 2001. Let's check it out together because I've never heard of this one. Here's the box for Parachuter, but it's really not the box for the Parachuter. This one's only available on the Emerson Arcadia 2001, and it's the 35th game that we've seen for this home console. This game technically didn't come out for the Arcadia 2001. That's the United States release of this console. This was only released on the MPT 03. So this box, what you're seeing here, is a total fabrication. It was not available in this region. They took the artwork, though, from the manual, they put it on this, and they slapped together some fabrication. So this right here, all fake. Yeah, you look at the back. Entertaining shooting game. Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't have the real box. I don't have anyone that has the scans of the box. Even the super nerds that love the Arcadia 2001 and all the variants and all the regions don't have the information. Here's all the other artwork I could find on this game. Besides the box art fabrication, just to familiarize yourself with this system, it has the number pad like it does on the Intellivision and the ColecoVision and the Creative Vision, all the visions. It has that with the joystick, digital joystick. And the system is very similar but slightly different than the Arcadia 2001 that we're going to be playing on. And then we have the cartridge. Again, the fabrication, you have to get the cartridge from the region it came out, because this system and all the different regions, not everyone has tracked down all the artwork for it, but we can still play the game. Here's the manual, the real manual for Paris Shooter. And the instruction you see down there, MG319 is the name of the game or cartridge. This was released on the MPT-03, I believe. Yes, right. Paul's mentioning all the game descriptions and fabrications. Man, there's so much out there that is not true. One of the reasons I love doing this show is I'm playing the games themselves, and so the experience and all the information I'm giving with the notes while we're playing these games is just coming from the information of everything we've seen so far. So it's not that I get to make up any of these numbers. These are just because we played that much and seen that much so far. And more to come, especially on the backlog. So the manual for Paris Shooter, we've seen these manuals before for this region of games. And here we go, we start with a screenshot. Pretty good for the time. Most of the time they fabricate the screenshot. It's not a real screenshot of the game because it's hard to do that right now. It says War Bomb. Now it makes me want to have a voice modulator on this, but this home console does not. It is not the Odyssey 2. It is not the Intellivision. Enemy planes are coming. You are here to defend your country and destroy them with your missiles. Hit a plane with score points. Haven't heard that one before. Be careful, your enemies are equipped with bombs, shooter mines, and a troop of deadly hero planes. However, if you are fast, you should be able to move out of range or destroy them before they reach ground. The objective is score as many points as possible, of course. Shoot down planes, bombs, shooter mines dropped by their planes. You have 5 missile launchers. You can shoot down enemies. However, if you're hit by enemy bomb shooter... Okay, I don't think I need to read any more. You can read it yourself, but I think we understand how the game works. There's 4 levels of game increasing difficulty, but you can't switch to the difficulty. You just start 1 and then go. Yeah, you enter level 1 and then it just goes higher and higher. So as far as game options or game modes, it doesn't have it. We're slowly going away from all the game variations that we saw on the Atari 2600. And so just how to get started. That's what the cartridge looks like on the MPT-03. Slightly different than the Arcadia 2001. I don't even know, did anyone blow in the cartridge for this console? Did anyone have the MPT-03? Which is very similar to the Arcadia 2001, but was blowing in the cartridge a thing right now? I'm not sure. You only use the left-hand controller because this is a single-player game. They know you're a nerd and have no friends, so no one's going to play with you. You just play by yourself. All you move is left and right, and you push any button to fire the missile. Yeah, see that number pad? Just push anything, and then it'll fire. It explains how to start the game. The score starts. It just says press start to play, and then explains what the enemies are here. Has some guides and helpful tips for us. Interesting. I wonder if they got this idea of the helpful tips from Atari because they did it first in their manuals. And I'm already getting some guesses from chat. Paul saying, is this a missile command variant? Yeah, not quite. Okay, so they do have variations, but these variations are, I don't think you can select them. I'll try it when we go in the game, but they have levels 1 through 4 and explains the difference between them. And whenever the end of the game is when you have 5 missile launchers, and when you lose all those lives, then you're done. That's the end of the game. And that's what the score is. Got to know what the points are in December 1982. And then this manual always ends with the operation flow diagram. Let's pop in that cartridge and play some Paris Shooter by UA Limited and Emerson, released in the beginning of December 1982. At least I believe so. Let's see what this is all about. First of all, do we have game variations or modes? Let's see. No, we don't. It's just go. So that means you cannot select the game mode. You just push start, make sure it's in the right port, and hit it. We're in. I can move left and right, and I can fire, and that's what we got. What you see is what you got. Simple concept. We have some really fast dive bombers that come down. The shooter mines, though, are the blue ones. You want to make sure you destroy those because if they reach the ground, they get stuck. And then they prevent you from moving left and right. Sound effects have a lot to be desired. We haven't seen a whole lot of good sound and music coming from the Arcadia 2001. Not that anyone's pushed it that hard, But control-wise, very simple. Move left, right, push any one of those buttons to fire, destroy as many as you can, and get a high score. This is it, though. There is nothing else to the game besides those levels you saw in the manual. If you get past the first level, then it increases, it goes to the next level, and changes up a few things. But for the most part, it's just running around shooting stuff or firing in the air. You can see over on the left side, when those shooter mines reach the ground, they stick down, and then it prevents your movement, so you can't go over them. Well, I get stuck on the ground, so make sure I destroy that one. Really simple idea. We've heard better sound effects on this home console than this, so I know it can do better. It's not really doing justice for how good you could have it. We call these video games fixed shooters. This is a shoot 'em up in the very loose sense of the term. This is the 413th fixed shooter that we've seen on Chronologically Gaming on all systems. Lots of shooting that we've done. This is the 53rd fixed shooter that we've seen on all home consoles up to this point. And this is the 7th that we've seen on this console alone, you know, depending on what region you're in. All those mines are a real nuisance. The other games we played that are really similar to this on this console have been games like Astro Invader, Space Vultures, Alien Invaders, Galaxian, that Galaxian, Space Attack, and The End. All of those have pretty much the same concept. Let's move left, let's move right, and let's fire. Originally, it was the idea of a shooting gallery style game, and then it turned into Space Invaders, and then voila, we got shooters everywhere. Yeah, so this one's really easy to pick up and play, which is kind of refreshing. We played a few games on this console that were not easy to pick up and play. They required you to read the manual and have an overlay and recognize what buttons on the number pad to use. This one, it's just straight shoot 'em up arcade action. Simple. It is very simple, and it works. I like it whenever I can play a console game where I don't need to have an overlay and the joystick doesn't even work. At least this one, the joystick works. Those airplanes are really fast to destroy. But the way that this looks and the way that this plays reminds me of something that we played in the late 70s, or even, I would say, think of the first few games we saw on the Atari 2600. This doesn't even come close to that because it doesn't have any of the game variations. There's no other modes to play. It's just extremely simple. So this one, without the difficulty levels, or at least the game modes that you can switch between, apparently you're supposed to be able to, but I was not able to. I already got ratings being thrown in for this point. In defense of the game, the cartridge is only a 4 kilobyte cartridge. 4 kilopower. So the average size right now of an Atari 2600 cartridge is the same size as this game. That's what we're working with. It kind of reminds me of a few games that we've seen before that have the idea of let's have something plant in the ground and prevent your movement left and right, kind of change up the usual shooting things in the sky. So it reminds me a little bit of Boom Alien that we saw in the arcades, Space Cyclone, Balloon Bomber by Taito, Indian Battle, Astro Invader by Konami, or Meg Attack. But right now, the best way to do shooters on all home consoles up to this point is games like Space Invaders on the Atari 2600. It still rocks. It's still one of the best. Demon Attack is out right now, and that one's one of the best shooters you could play. Sonic Invader is on the Creedivision. Turmoil is on the Atari 2600. Communist Mutants from Space with the Supercharger adapter is one of the best shooters you could play. So many different game options there. Galactic Invasion is available on the Astrocade. That one's a way better shooter. Phoenix is available on the Atari 2600. Commando Raid's also very good. Mega Mania is another example. And so of all the other really good ones, this one doesn't even come close, in my opinion. I'd rather still play games that come close to this, but I still would rather play games like Astro Battle or Space Invaders on the Astrocade than this version or this kind of shooter. I'd rather play Astro Smash and Sharpshot on the Intellivision than this game. I'd rather play Alien Invasion on the Channel F, the Fairchild Channel F, than this game. So I would say this game right now in its release and how simple it is and how really easy it is, I'd give this the same level as what I gave Carnival on the Intellivision, or Cosmic Creeps on the Atari, Deadly Duck on the Atari, Rescue Terra 1 on the Atari, or Snake on the Atari. That's the same level that this game's in. Looking over in the chat, I see some people throwing out some bad I see a 2-star. Yeah, 2-star rating, 2.5. James is saying it's very okay. Yes, it is. It's not doing anything special. So I actually want to call this just, it's too generic, and it doesn't have anything going for it as far as replay value. So what I would like to do is, let's take this and give it a bad rating. I'm going to say 2 stars. It's the best of the bad, but I wouldn't call this average. Right now, this is not an average console video game. This is a bad console video game. 2 stars is what we're going to give for Parachuter. All right, after that, we got a lot more games to play. Let's see what our next game is. It's time to play on your IBM PC. This is PC Man. I love the name. Here's the box for PC Man and the Micro Monsters. Look at that, the Micro Monsters. Eeny, meeny, miny, and mo. PC Man is only on MS-DOS. It is the 132-32nd game we've played for MS-DOS, PC-DOS, or PC Booter. We kind of lump them all together. This front of the box is excellent. This is the kind of front of the box for home computers when you want to sell a Pac-Man ripoff or a Pac-Man clone. This looks exactly like Pac-Man. Great sell, and if you want to play Pac-Man on your IBM PC, I mean, look no further than the box. It's really good. Also, look at the top right. The price is $35 or $34.95. That's actually very steep, pretty high for a home computer game. Home computer games, it's hit and miss. You don't really know what you're going to get. Plus, on home computers, you can type in your own games from catalogs and magazines. And so $35 means this is a premium home computer game right now. You flip it over the back, this requires an IBM personal computer, color graphics card, ooh, and 48K of RAM. Up to this point in video gaming on home computers, the most RAM or memory we've needed to play any video game has been 64K of RAM. There's been no video game that says we need more than 64. I'm waiting for that moment where a video game says, nope, you need more than 64K of RAM. So this one is by Orion Software. We've seen a few other games that they've done up to this point. Telengard, they did originally, and it's been released on the TRS-80, the Commodore PET, and the Apple II. And the developer for this one, I think we'll get into the developer in a sec. There's the 5 1/4 floppy disk for PC Man. I'm already excited because they're going to rip off Pac-Man again. I want to see how well they do it. And there's the example of the screenshot, and it looks pretty good. The inside sleeve of PC Man, there it is, by Greg J. Cooperberg. Way to go, Greg. This is the second time we've seen Greg Cooperberg, and he did Paratrooper on the PC, and it's pretty good. He explains how to start the game here. For keyboard play, there's the controls, but on the IBM PC, it has joystick controls. Joystick on the IBM PC is awesome. Has the special keys there and explains the score and what's required, and that's it. I don't think they need to explain what the game is. Notice there's no story either. All right, let's pop in that disc and play some PC Man by Greg Cooperberg, published by Orion Software in the beginning of December 1982. We get greeted with a nice little look at that cheery music, and I'm sure Greg did it all. So you can do keyboard play or joystick play. I'm really excited to do something with joysticks. Let's go. I'm obviously playing as Pac-Man. Look at that. Bottom left corner has a peppermint. Is that a candy cane? I want to find that candy cane. But yeah, pick up the power pellet. This one looks the part, feels the part. Wow, it's really, really impressive. Especially on IBM. Usually we're expecting something that's a little janky, mostly with ASCII characters, but no, this is really, really fresh. And we have a lot of things to go over, but besides what you see, there's a few things under the hood that are happening that are impressive as well. Oh, he's going right at, whoa, and the AI for these ghosts, much better than Pakakuda. Yeah, I wasn't even paying attention. He killed me again. Yep, we're gonna go in again. Yep, come on. The AI for the ghost has the very similar pattern than what they had in the arcade. Notice how smart the red ghost is. As soon as I knock him out, he's coming right at me. Look at that. Wow. I don't think I can catch him. The speed's so fast. Oh, he's got a chip on his shoulder or something. He is coming right at us. So not only is it pretty good Pac-Man, but you have to be ready to play. At this point, when we played so much Pac-Man on home computers, and especially since we just came from Pakakuda. Oh, there's the candy cane. I want that. Get 150 points. They got music and sound effects here too. Now, is it true Pac-Man where we only have one maze, or is it multiple mazes? I don't know if I can get by. Oh wait, there's also no teleporter or warp. I don't have a way to warp. Oh, I guess at the top. There we go. Can the ghosts warp? They can. Looks like it slows them down a little bit, but no way. They're going to trap me. Yeah, I knew it was coming. So this is the 344th arcade maze game we've seen on Chronologically Gaming across all systems. It is the 192nd that we've seen on all home computers so far, and this is the 12th arcade maze game that we've seen on MS-DOS or PC-DOS. And it's obviously a variant of Pac-Man. This is the 149th clone of Pac-Man that we've seen. We almost hit 150 clones of Pac-Man that we've seen on Chronologically Gaming. So much Pac-Man that's out there. Some other ones that we've seen on MS-DOS that are Pac-Man-like games would be Snack Attack 2, Pac-Gal, the Queen of Hearts maze game, which is bare bones Pac-Man. There's also Ramsack, Pac-Man, and on PC, the reigning champ of the worst Pac-Man that you could play on all systems, and I'm talking everywhere. Consoles, computers, anywhere. The worst Pac-Man is on home computers right now, and it's Gobbleman. Gobbleman is the worst. It is, first of all, a bare bones Pac-Man game, but it is it barely constitutes as a maze game for how terrible it is. Oh, can we do it? We did it! Okay, so it looks like they have the exact same maze, but there isn't, but they add like extra fruit that you can eat instead. This game also has no multiplayer modes. It's a single player game only. What's your high score? You can see it saves it on the left side. You and your friends can probably take turns if you wanted to, but it's meant to be more like an arcade style game. What's also really impressive about this is every other game we've played on MS-DOS up to this point, I've had to emulate based on the computer speed at the time for the game to run. And what I mean is whenever you play a video game on a modern Pentium, you know, or something that's a faster computer, all the video games you try to play at this time, they go way too fast because it's based on the speed of the CPU. This is the very first time where this game runs at the correct speed, even on a Pentium computer, Pentium 2, Pentium 3, or higher CPU. So I can actually just play this on a DOS computer with a Pentium 3, and it still runs the same. It doesn't go super fast. The very first time we've ever seen a game do that, which honestly means it's pretty good programming. This is programmed very well, and you can tell how polished this is. Looks the part, sounds the part. I mean, getting any sound or music coming from the IBM's very rare. So it's kind of cool they did that. Yeah, this is very fun. Multiplayer would be kind of cool if they had that. The color graphics also is kind of rare. This would be a very expensive game to play right now because you'd have to buy the IBM PC, you'd have to buy the graphics card. Let's keep going. I don't think we picked up the watermelon. No, we didn't get it. We can go for a higher score, but you have to be on your ready to play because it is very difficult. The ghosts have high intelligence. Yeah, that's right. IBM PC internal speaker is how we're getting the sound. I saw from Paul in the chat. What's also rare is the joystick. This is only the third game, or like we played less than 3 games on the IBM PC that have joystick control. I know Cosmic Crusader had joystick control, but it's mostly been all keyboard or keyboard controlled games only, and so it's another really good point, and it makes the game, I would say, even better or higher rating compared to all the other games that are available out there. Oh man, so yeah, the only computer that's officially has Pac-Man right now, like real Pac-Man, is the Atari home computer, and there's also Power Pac that's available on the Sword M5 in Japan, and that one is Super Pac-Man. So the Pac-Man clones or Pac-Man variants that we see, there's only 2 real ways to play official Pac-Man. The other ways are going to be, you're going to be ripping off Pac-Man, just like we're doing here. That's awesome. All right, so I would say of all the games you could play across all home computers, PC Man is actually really good. It's very refreshing, and it's a really well done version of Pac-Man for a home computer, but there's a lot of other Pac-Man on home computers that are excellent, and they add more features. Something that this tries to do is make an authentic Pac-Man experience at home. But if you've seen all the Pac-Man we've seen so far, this is above average, at least. Looking over the chat, I see actually some averages. Paul's saying 3 stars, 3.5, a slightly unfair difficulty. Yeah, you have to play it yourself, and also try it out with keyboard or joystick. Brad said, yeah. Oh, that's true, Brad. We didn't see a cutscene, but don't you see it after when you get to the 3rd maze? I think you have to get to the first 2 mazes to see a cutscene. And then Brian's saying 3.5 stars. I actually say this is very, very impressive, and if this was like all the other PC games where it was keyboard controlled only, I might say 3 to 3.5 stars, but because of the joystick control on an IBM computer, I gotta go higher. I gotta say this is excellent. Of all the games you could play across all home computers, I'm going 4 stars for PC Man. It is a well done, polished gem of a Pac-Man game, even though it's just, ripping off Pac-Man. All right, after that, get ready for some crazy territory. It's time to play Polywog on the on the Apple II. Polywog? Get ready for some strangeness. This is the only artwork I could find, and it's not necessarily the first artwork. There may have been another one that they did before Softsmith picked this up. This game, Polywog, is only available on the Apple II. It's the 441st game that we've played or seen on the Apple II. And Softsmith Software, or the Software Guild, is the name of the company that published this one. It's the 19th time we've seen this company involved with any video games. They've done games like Baja Buggies, Final Frontier, Defender on Try, Cyborg, The Prisoner, and Astro Attack, just to name a few. And this looks like most of their boxes. It's the same idea. Look at this, factory sealed. And the front of this box, just so you know, because there's not a lot of artwork or information about this. And if you've never heard of Polywog, then this is all you would know. This is all you would know too. Explore the adventures of Pond Life. Does that sell the game? I don't think so. And the rest of the artwork that we've seen by this company, this is all they do for the box. They don't have a picture. They just have words and description. It's kind of like a IBM PC game. All right, flip it over the back. And there we go. Yep, see? Just lines. It's not grid paper, but it doesn't really explain much of the game. What other artwork do we have for Polywog? Besides the box, we have an ad that we found in a magazine. It still doesn't explain that much. It says it's not a shoot-'em-up game, it's not a maze game, it's not an adventure game, it's Polywog, a brand new kind of computer game, the struggle for life itself, with a stunning reward. If you're good enough, you turn into a prince. Top Notch Productions proudly presents Polywog by Alan Wooten, a prince of a fellow. With the fastest full-screen action you've ever seen, 15 dazzling colors, and a delicious soundtrack. It's a true test of champions, offering up 64 possible levels of play. Eat the algae, but wear the creepies, and watch yourself metamorphosize into a frog? In 1982? This makes no sense. It says, lay your own eggs, bring more Polywogs into the world, and avoid killer fish, and reach the highest stage of the Polywog life cycle. You're a prince. It's sophisticated, challenging, fun. There's never been a computer game experience like it. Yeah, it sounds out there and strange. But there's the example of the screenshot, and that's not going to tell you anything. I am excited to try to explain Polywog to you. Let's pop in and play some Polywog. Top Notch Productions and Alan Wooten brings us, published by the Software Guild in the beginning of December 1982. Everyone ready? I have to do a lot of explaining for this one. I know the generic box art doesn't help, and then the game itself isn't helpful. Whoa, far out, man. This is trippy. This is the title sequence. This is letting you know what the game is. As far as I know, Alan Wooten, this is the first and only game by Alan Wooten and Top Notch Productions. They didn't do anything else, at least not that I can find. Did you see that? Polywog just materialized from the graphics. This game is single player only, no multiplayer modes or anything like that. And this one, I'm going to have to do a lot of explaining. Everyone ready? Get your joystick in your hand, and I think what I'll do first is I'll just tell you what's going to happen. Get ready to start Pawn 1. Good luck. When you begin the game, you begin as eggs. Here we go. The eggs are the pink dots in the middle. The eggs are going to burst free, and now what you see as the purple things moving around are the tadpoles. I am controlling the purple tadpoles. So like I'm moving the purple tadpoles up, I'm moving the purple tadpoles to the right. I'm controlling all of them at the same time. All the purple tadpoles that are on the screen, I'm moving them all at the same time. That's what the analog joystick is controlling. As you move around the screen, you're meant to move the tadpoles over the green algae, and then they eat the green algae and get bigger. So notice how some of the tadpoles have increased in size. But I'm controlling all of them at the same time. And you're supposed to clear the screen and eat all of the algae. Around the screen, there's lots of things to dodge. Anything that's orange, you need to get rid of or get away from, because that's going to eat the tadpoles. And you can see all the purple or all the tadpoles are dead, and we got a game over. Curses. Repeat level 1. It shows us our score. We have 24 eggs left. And yes, Brad, the music is amazing. That they put the music in the game while we're playing an Apple II game is really, really impressive. And it has its original song. This is not something public domain. They made their own song for the game. All right, we got a better... We're going to get all the algae now. Nice and easy. Try to avoid other things, but get all the purple tadpoles to eat all the green algae. Quick, quick, quick. Oop, there's one more dot. Got it. When you eat all the algae, then all the tadpoles can usually skip levels. You can see this is the skip level sequence. I wouldn't call this a cutscene. This looks like a slideshow. Advance from 1 to 12. And we have 24 eggs left. There's our score. So we've moved to level 12 now. Same thing. There's my tadpoles. You can see them right there. Get them to eat the green, but avoid... Oh, the orange, whatever it is, destroy this. So there's got to be more explanation to this game, but there really is not a lot of information online that people have found because the artwork's hard to come by. All right, I got a couple tadpoles there. Let's see if we can get there. And you notice how we also wrap around the screen. The big white stuff, I believe, is fish that you need to avoid so you don't get eaten. I think I only have one. Look, I got one little tadpole left. Looks like I'm being chased, though. Get it? And then I got one more line at the top. Can I do it? No, and he got me. It is really trippy. It also makes me think of the difference between high-res video games and low-res. When we played high-res games, some people laughed at me, but now you understand what the difference is. This is a low-res game for the Apple II. Oh, wait, did I make it? Oh, no, here we go. There's my tadpoles. Another low-res game that comes to mind that we saw was Firebug by Muse Software, which was kind of cool. It was like fire spreading around. But the sound's incredible that they got music to play at the same time. The concept and idea are way out there. We're going to be playing as tadpoles and progress through the life cycle of tadpoles from frog. And then once you're a frog, then you turn into a prince, apparently. But what you're seeing right now, me playing this game... Wait, what in the world? Can I not... Whoa! I can only move in this area and... Oh, this is trippy. They actually turned it into a maze now. It's an open area. I have to make my way and get the tadpoles to wrap around the screen to the other side. And then once they wrap around, then they can go, whoa, that's crazy. And it looks like it's opening up now, but I gotta avoid the orange or I'm gonna die. It looks like I got one large tadpole to eat some. Wow. I got one left. Poor little tadpole right in the center of the screen. If you're just now joining us on Chronologically Gaming, just back away from the screen and it'll make a lot more sense. Just look at it from really far away. Balls, oh, you're throwing out 4.5 stars. That's so cool. Yeah, it is crazy. It is another video game that has frogs in it, and it's not Frogger. That's also pretty impressive. It involves swimming in a video game. It's a biological simulator, which is only the second time that we played a video game that's doing this. And I know we played video games like Conway's or Conrad's Game of Life, which is meant to split cells. And that's been around on mainframe computers, but that really wasn't a video game. We have played another biological simulator, and that was Alien Garden on the Atari home computer, but that one, it wasn't very fun. there's a lot of randomness to it. This one actually has an arcade quality to it because you're meant to move around and dodge different things, collect all the algae to grow in size, and it has that transformation element to it where your character is actually getting larger and you're changing into other things while you play the game. So there's a lot going on in the game, but you can understand how this would have been popular. This is another one of those games that I'm amazed I'm playing this in December 1982. Look at this. Look at this. Get all the algae. That's it. Move, my tadpole friends. Quick. Eat it all. Yes. The faster you eat it all, or how many tadpoles eat it up, depends on how many levels you skip. So it does use joystick control. You have the analog joystick of the Atari, of the Apple II, and it also is kind of doing a fairy tale theme if we're going to be turning from a frog. Yeah, the Game of Life, I still would call it a variant of the Game of Life games we saw on mainframe. But yeah, it's really, really cool. So looking over in the chat, I think I only saw Paul throw out. Yeah, Brad's saying 4.5 stars too, of all the games you could play. That's awesome. Yes, definitely acquired taste. And it is unique, so the ad was true. Get it? It's also interesting that I'm controlling multiple characters. I'm not just controlling one. All of them are moving whenever I move the game. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just quit out of it here. Thank you for playing Polywog. I cannot make heads or tails of this because there's not a lot of video games out there that are like this. But I will admit that I have fun. That once you understand what it is, even though there's not a lot of information on it, it is a fun game. It's an idea that's, I would say, way better than Alien Garden for all the games you could play. I don't know if I can go as high as saying it's one of the best we've played on all home computers. 4.5 is a little steep. Mike's saying 3.5. Presentations there. Mark's saying 4 stars. Very nice. So the chat looks a little bit divisive as far as all the games you could play across all home computers. We got some people saying it's pretty average, around the 3-star. Some people saying 4, but then some people are all the way up there on around the 5-star range. I would say this is obviously not an average video game for all the games on home computers. I wouldn't call this excellent because there's a big learning curve and there's not a lot of documentation. It's not a pick up and play style game, but it's so ambitious. It's pushing above what everything should be. Yeah, right? Paul, definitely. There's so much drugs that had to be involved with this game. And think of all the video games that are biological simulators we're going to see later. It's really, really cool. Grim saying 3.5 stars. Yeah, I don't want to say average, but I also don't want to say it's excellent, like a 4-star game, just because it's pretty quirky. I'm going to go 3.5 stars, though. I'm going to say an above-average video game of all the games you could play across all home computers. I love it when I find a game that the chat really has different opinions on what they think of the game, so that's awesome. All right, now, without further ado, let's see what our next game is. It's time to play Pooyan on the Atari 2600. We saw Pooyan in late September, early October 1982, and we already have a home port. Well, there are some sources that say this was released in 1983. We're going to say it now because I saw more references to 1982 as this port release. All right, here's the box for Pooyan. Just in time for the holiday season 1982. This marks the 191st game we've seen on the Atari 2600. That is a lot of games. And look at this box. It's Konami video game cartridge. Konami, it did this game. Or at least slap their logo on the box. That doesn't even look like the same Pooyan that we saw in the arcades. It looks a little bit different. This is the 40th time we've seen Konami involved with anything up to this point. We've seen 18 games they've done in the arcades, 3 on the NEC PC 6001. Konami's done 1 game on the Atari home computer and the Apple II, 1 game on the Video Pack, 1 game on the ZX81. It's all Frogger. We also saw 2 games they've done on the Intex Adventure Vision, 3 games on the Pyota, and 2 games on the Sword M5, 4 on the Arcadia 2001. This is Konami's very first game on the Atari 2600. So not the first time at home, but you can see that they're starting to do a few things. Konami's starting to come home just a little bit. I'm actually not sure who exactly did this game or who did the port for this one. Tokoro Fujiwara did the arcade version, but I don't think he was involved with this one. The front of the box is colorful. If you're a fan of the arcade, you would have loved this and it would have been a really good Christmas gift. You flip this over on the back, And it's actually kind of simple there. One day in the middle of a forest, a group of fierce wolves attacked the house where a mother pig, or mama, and her little piglets, Pooyans, were living together peacefully. You have to protect the Pooyans. Mama fought back using arrows and bait, so they're giving us the story on the back. That's pretty nice. And you can see it's for 1 or 2 players. What else do we have besides the box for Pooyan? Did you buy Pooyan, or did you play Pooyan in the holidays of 1982? There's our Atari 2600. Now known as the 2600. And there's the cartridge. The cartridge is unique. You can't really see it here, but it rounds at the bottom. It's not the normal like block or square cartridge that we've seen before. So it's already special that it's Konami, but they're doing what other third-party people have done, trying to do a unique cartridge too. And there's the example of the screenshot. We also have the manual for Pooyan. We know how to play the arcade game. Is the console release any different? Let's find out. There's the game. The game concept tells us the story. Over in the top left, it's exactly the same that it was on the back of the box, or pretty close. As the control lever, playing a solo game, and how to start the game. It explains you push the red button to shoot the bait from Mother Pig. Red button is going to be how you fire the game. And they have a game selection. They have game numbers. They have variations. 8 different ones. 1 and 2 player. But don't get too excited. The 2-player mode is hot seat multiplayer arcade. So you're going to take turns. You don't get to play at the same time Pooyan. There's not multiplayer Pooyan. All right, so you can see how the game gives us the game modes. There's not too much variation to it. Like you can see it's horizontal or parabolic trajectory of the stones. That's not super helpful, but it looks like we can play, if you want to play an easier mode, you would do like game 1, and you can do also slow and fast modes. So it has little variation, but not super amazing. There's 2 different scenes in the game. They follow from each other alternatively. The scenes displayed in the center and the upper part. The scene 1 is the pig's house, where Mother Pig's moving up and down, trying to burst the wolves' balloons with arrows as they come. They're going from the top down to the bottom. And then scene 2 is the Wolf Valley. In this scene, the wolves float up from the bottom of the valley with their balloons, and Mother Pig tries to stop them using arrows and bait, just like in the previous scene. So it's a shooter. Another shooter. We love shooting stuff. At the start, 30 wolves will appear in scene 1. After it automatically will change to scene 2. So if you get through 30 wolves, then you'll keep on going. And if there's mistakes that can be made, you'll lose your 1 Mother Pig or life. If you're hit by one of the stones, if a pig's eaten from behind by a wolf, or if a rock drops from above. And then it explains what the scores and points are over here right above my head. Each player has 3 lives. If you get 5,000 points, you get an extra life. But it'll only show up to 4 pigs. When you want to play the game again, check the number, press the red button, and reset. So Konami's first Atari game really looks, at least manual-wise, very similar to the other games we've seen. This was available in PAL regions as well, and was done by Gakken. Let's play the first release. Let's pop in that cartridge to play Pooyan by Konami, released in the beginning of December 1982. What's going to happen? What's it going to be like? Yes, get the wolves. So I'm going to just start with game mode 1. You can see I can select the different game modes at the top. 2 and 3. Sound effects, a nice touch, going from game to game. And then I'm just going to say game mode 1 and then reset, and let's hit it. Ooh, they got the music. That's great. All right, so first, the thing I can notice is I can move up and down, just like I did in the arcades. It feels a little loose. Like my response and shot aren't super fantastic. Let's fire the meat off and tuck. So the top of the screen shows a rectangle. That rectangle is the piece of sausage or meat that you probably saw in the arcades to shoot at the wolves or fire in an arc down. And then I let some wolves pass by me, so you can see right behind me, there's wolves that are trying to attack me. So this right here, this is playing very well. As far as a port, that was an arcade game that was released this year in 1982, and they ported it to the Atari. This is really good. It wouldn't surprise me if this really was a 1983 release rather than 82, just because of how faithful this is to the arcade. Now, obviously, there's graphic changes they had to do. You know, it doesn't look like Mama Pig. I mean, it's pretty close. And the wolves aren't as large of characters, but the game itself, if you wanted to play Pooyan, this is pretty good. It looks the part. I would say the play control isn't as tight as it was in the arcades. Now, if you look at the top of the screen, we made it to game mode 2, so the wolves will be coming from the bottom to the top. They'll be floating to the top. If we may have too many at the top, then they'll start pushing the rock up there. But I think we died. Yeah, we did. And we'll go in again. Reset. So we'll go back to stage 1. We still call this a fixed shooter. Very different than the other fixed shooters that we usually see that are Space Invaders inspired, but it's all on the left side of the screen. And this is the 414th fixed shooter that we've seen on Chronologically Gaming on all systems up to this point. It's the 54th that we've seen on all home consoles so far. It's unique and different. Man, the shields on these guys is nuts. I also have, my shot has a timing to it that takes a little bit to get used to. Yeah, see, like that was really hard to get the shot through on that. On the Atari 2600 alone, this home console, this is the 26th fixed shooter that we've seen up to this point. Some of the best fixed shooters that you could play on the Atari 2600 would be Space Invaders that I mentioned earlier. It's still really, really good. Demon Attack, Turmoil, Communist Mutants from Space, Cosmic Arc. That was more like a Space Zap variant. Phoenix is also available. That's a really good shooter. Commando Raid. Oh, we made it to the second level. Nice. Encounter at L5, Guardian, Megamania, Space Cavern, and Space Chase. Just to name a few of other fixed shooters or shooters similar to this that you could play on the Atari 2600. So far, console fixed shooters are pretty much all at the bottom. You know, you're at the bottom, you move left to right and fire, except for games like Space Zap, where it's, you can shoot in all directions, but you can't really move anywhere. You're just sitting in the middle. Rescue Terror 1 is an exception where you're shooting at the top of the screen rather than at the bottom of the screen. Snake is on the Atari. That's a different kind of fixed shooter. And of course, Turmoil is available, which has the tunnel in the middle. So while this looks the part, the control would take a little bit to get used to. You can see I'm struggling a little bit with the timing of my shot because it doesn't feel like I have complete control over when I can shoot or fire. If something's close to my Mama Pig, I can fire off lots of volleys at the same time. But if it's far away, I'm like mashing the button because there's no turbo or anything like that. You can't hold down the red button. You have to just keep pushing and firing. So there's something there that already Pooyan was pretty cool in the arcades because of the music. It was lively, it was fun. We made it to level 2. But it still was essentially a fixed shooter. It had its merits when it comes to something that's trying to be from a different perspective, I guess. Or at least from the side view. It involves pigs, which is kind of refreshing because of all the other animals we usually see for games that are ripping off something. And now I'm trying to think of, when you think of all the games you could be playing right now on all home consoles, what other games would I rather play as shooters, or which games would be better games for shooters than Pooyan? Uh-oh, they're piling up at the top. If all of them come to the top... We're also getting a little bit of flicker because notice that the wolves at the top of the screen, it looks like multiple characters on one line, so it would cause lots of flicker. That's true. It's not a vertical fixed shooter. You're on one screen, or I guess you're going up and down. So there's not a lot of, if you're going to be picky, vertical fixed shooters that you could play on home consoles right now. This is the second variant of Pooyan that we've seen so far on Chronologically Gaming after the arcade game, Pooyan. So there's really no other people cloning or copying Pooyan. We got 2 official Pooyans. Way to go, Konami, on that one. This one is this cartridge, by the way, is the same size as the game we just played on the Arcadia 2001. This is 4 kilobytes, or 4 kilopower. Much better game than what we saw on that other console. And so I would say this game is about the same level as Carnival that we saw on the Atari 2600, or Astro Blast, or Demons to Diamonds. Those games, I'd say, yeah, this is about the same level as those games that we've seen on the Atari. So, but there's so many others too that are shooters that you could play that would be pretty good. Like Gorf is available on the Atari 2600, or Threshold is out there. Wabbit is available, and then even Word Zapper. So it's all right, but I don't know if I could say it's as impressive because of your shot. It doesn't feel smooth or something as good as Demon Attack as far as a shooter goes. So yeah, there's a different timing that you have to get down, and I've been practicing Pooyan before the live show, and it still doesn't feel as good or as polished as other shooters. And compared to the arcade version is even better for response times. It's also brutal. Look at the shield of the wolves floating down. But I give them props because porting this to the Atari is a major feat, and they've done it really well. Notice that when they're floating down, they have a brief moment where they look like wolves. That's really impressive that they were able to do that for the Atari. Okay, getting good timing down here. In a way that you could classify this as a shooting gallery style game instead of a fixed shooter, just because of how the concept is pretty simple. But I also call it a shoot 'em up just because there's so much that you're able to shoot on the screen at a time. Yeah, very good Atari version of the game for sure. All right, had some fun with Pooyan. I'm ready for the holiday season. Hey, and there's E.T. What are you gonna buy, Pooyan or E.T.? I'd say for all the games you can play across all home consoles, this is still closer to the average range. I'm looking over in the chat and seeing what other people's ratings are. Paul's saying 3.5 to 4 stars. That's pretty up there. Brad's saying 3.5 and 3 stars. Yeah, James is saying 3, and then Brian's 3.5, Marshall's 3.5. So lots of above averages. I could go 3 stars to say Pooyan is average just because of play control, but because of how well the port is and because of how new the port is from the arcades, I'd say 3.5 stars for all the games up to this point. And Grim's saying 3. Oh man, maybe I'll say 3 stars. We have a few averages that are out there. I see mostly above average, but no, I'm going to say it's average. Pooyan doesn't have the same quality for other shooters that are out there, and the charm that's in the arcade is still here, but for play control, I'm going to go with 3. For all the games you could play on all home consoles, Pooyan's an average game for everything up to this point for all home consoles. All right, after that, now it's time to put our video game playing on pause. Thank you so much, everyone that's here for the live show. Thanks for bearing with me while I'm working out computer issues and things freezing and breaking. I really appreciate all the support, and especially if you're here for the live show, being here in December 1982, rating the games as if they were the only ones available out there. And because we see and play everything, we have a context for video games that no one else has seen before. So if you've watched since the beginning, we have over 1,400 videos we've posted on YouTube that have so much video game content, at least in the frame of 70s and early 80s. But we're just getting started. There's so many more games that we're going to be playing. Well, next time on Chronologically Gaming, it's arcade gaming in December 1982 from Atari and Jalico. And let's take our kicks home for the first time on a home computer. That's it for today, and like I always say, we already have apes and frogs are very popular for video games right now. Does this mean we're going to get a lot of games with pigs? Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and be a chronologically gaming influencer, rating the games as we play them. This video wouldn't be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and Maine. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every video game. We have links down below that give more information on the games we played this episode, as well as our Discord and Patreon. There's a link called All the Games We Have Played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.